All right. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. So we're on chapter 93. Bab Man latama abdahu falyu'tiqhu min ghayri ijab. So this is the chapter. Oh, I'm waiting for you. I told you I'm more concerned with you benefiting than anybody else in this dunya. So I'm not teaching my kids. I don't want to teach anybody. All right, so Bab, you're on 176. All right, Bab man latama. Latama, it means to slap, like slap somebody in the face. Or it can also mean to hit or to slap. All right. Man latama abdahu. All right, his slave. So this now is not just talking about any like this is specifically dealing with what the person who owns a slave, right? If he hits him in the face, فَلْيُعْتِقْهُ, and he should free him. مِنْ غَيْرِ إِيجَاب. مِنْ غَيْرِ إِيجَاب, it means without, like it's not what? No. مِنْ غَيْرِ إِيجَاب, it means it's not wajib. It's not obligatory for him to free him, but it's the better thing to do. So بِغَيْرِ إِيجَاب, this is Al-Imam al-Bukhari showing his opinion that it's not obligatory, but it's the better thing to do. What does your chapter heading say?
One who slaps his slave should free him, although he is under no obligation.
He's under no obligation. All right, so number 176, because we're going to take all of these, because all of them, they're all intertwined. So we're going to knock out all of these hadiths, inshallah. So حدثنا آدم قال حدثنا شعبة قال حدثنا حسين قال سمعت هلال ابن يساف يقول كنا نبيع البز. All right, he said that we used to sell البز. البز هو النوع من الثياب. Huh? What is it? تقرأ منه. That's not Adab al-Mufrad. That's Sunan Abi Dawud. No, it's right here. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, all three of you. Hadith number 176. This is Hamza's new book. So he can, with the changes, because this just came, the brother Sajid, he sent my books from Jacksonville, and this was in the books. So I had two different Al-Adab al-Mufrads. One went to my son because that was given to me as a gift from my brother. So I said, I can't give him this. So I gave him mine. So if Hamza's listening, you better hurry up and get your book before we give it to somebody else. All right. So, يقول كنا نبيع البز. He said we used to sell al-baz. Al-baz is a نوع من الثياب. It's a type of clothing. All right. And the other narration, he said al-bur. Al-bur would be wheat. All right, so depending on what the narration, but here the narration is al-baz. في دار سويد ابن مقرن, in the house of Suwaid ibn Muqarran. فخرجت جارية فقالت لرجل شيئا فلطمها. So a slave girl, a jariya is a young girl, a young slave girl, right? She came out and she said something to a man, and he slapped her. That man, the man that she was speaking to, slapped her. فقال له سويد بن مقرن, and then Suwaid said to him رضي الله عنه, ألطمت وجهها, did you slap her in the face? لقد رأيتني سابع سبعة, I saw myself and I was the seventh of seven people. وما لنا إلا خادم, and we didn't have anything amongst us, the seven of us, except for one servant. فلطمها بعضنا, So some of us, we slapped them. فأمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يعتقها. Did somebody say something? Oh, huh? Oh, okay. So and then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered that they free the servant after they slapped him in the face. And there's different narrations about whether it was a man or a male or a female. Obviously, the Jariya in this scenario was a female. This hadith is in Sahih Muslim. All of these narrations are all in Sahih Muslim. All of them. All 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of them are in Sahih Muslim. All right, so you don't have to worry about whether or not it's authentic or not authentic. All right, so number 177. So here again, it shows what's the chapter heading, right? You have a servant. You slap the servant in the face. The best thing to do in following the commands of the Prophet ﷺ is to what? Free him or her. All right. حدثنا عمرو بن عون ومسدد قال حدثنا أبو عوانة عن فراس عن أبي صالح. Sorry, I'm getting like messages from Abdul Malik about the brother that came, and I'm trying to look at the messages and read the hadith at the same time. And عوانة عن فراس عن أبي صالح عن زاذان عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من لطم عبده أو ضربه حدا لم يأته فكفارته عتقه. Alright, so this is reported on the authority of Ibn Umar. Alright, so different narration in the different hadith, but again also in Sahih Muslim. He said, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, whoever slaps his slave in the face, أو ضربه, or beats him, haddan. Haddan, it means what? To carry out like the punishment for a person who's committed a crime. It's from the hudud, you know. Lam ya'tihi. So he beats him for something that he did not do. He beats him or hits him in the face and for something that he did not do. فَكَفَارَتُهُ إِتْقُهُ. Then, you know, how does he make up for the action that he did? He frees him. So he gives him his freedom. That's the kafara for doing what he did, because he beat him for something that he had nothing to do with. All right. And number 178. حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا يحيى بن سعيد عن سفيان قال حدثني سلمة ابن كهيل قال حدثني معاوية ابن سويد ابن مقرن قال, and this goes back to the first hadith, right? قال لطمت مولا لنا ففر عفوا. There's a problem with the narration. Here it says ففر, and the asl of the word, the narration that if you go back and check Sahih Muslim is فحاربت. So it should be ففررت. What does your book say? The book we gave you. Number 178. Does it say ففر or ففررت? What does it say in the English translation? Yeah.
I slapped the mullah of mine and he fled and fought.
See, that's the problem, because if it goes back to the original, the asl of the hadith, فَحَرَبْتُ, then the person who fled is the person who did the slapping. But if you say فَفَرَّ, then that means the person who fled is what? The person who got slapped. So it changes the meaning of the hadith. But whichever the case may be, based on this narration, he said فَفَرَّ, which means that the slave that he slapped ran away. فَدَعَانِي أَبِي, and my father called me to him. فَقَالَ لَهُ اقْتَصَّ. فَقَالَ لَهُ, he said to him, اقْتَصَّ. اقْتَصَّ here, it says what? فَدَعَانِي أَبِي فَقَالَ اقْتَصَّر. Huh? No, what does it say? What does it say in the translation?
When my father called me and told the slave, avenge yourself. We the sons of...
No, اقْتَصَّ, yeah. اقْتَص. Yeah. Which means like, get your rights. You know, the qisas. Alright. كنا ولد مقرن سبعة لنا خادم. And he said that we were the son of Muqarran 7. Like, we got here right before all the action started, huh? Huh? Where there? Right down the street, right here. Yeah, somebody probably got shot. Huh? Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. If there's that many police, then somebody probably got shot. كنا ولد مقرن سبع. He said, well, we were 7. لنا خادم, and we had one servant. فلطمها أحدنا. One of us slapped. And here it says فلطمها, which means what? Female, right? And one of us slapped her in the face. فذكر ذلك للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and then this was mentioned to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. فقال مرهم فليعتقوها. They command them to what? To free her. فقيل للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس لهم خادم غيرها. And then it was said to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم that they don't have any other servant other than her. That's the only one they have to assist them. قال فليستخدموها فإذا استغنوا خلوا سبيلها. Then the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم told them, and this hadith is also again a Muslim, he said, then let them use her. فليستخدموها. They continue to use her services. And then as soon as they have no need for her, خلوا سبيلها, and then let her go free. Let her go free. So this shows what? This is the narration that shows what? The last part of the chapter. بغير إيش. The chapter heading. بغير إيجاب. And without being wajib. Because here they told the Prophet ﷺ what? They don't have another servant other than her. And he said, use her services until you have no need for her, then free her. So it shows that it's not wajib, because if it was wajib, there would have been no choice in the matter. Once the Prophet ﷺ told him, free her, khalas, game over, But here he told him, like, okay, continue to use her for now until you don't need her, and then free her. All right, so hadith number 179. حدثنا عمر بن مرزوق قال أخبرنا شعبة قال لي محمد بن المنكدر ما اسمك. So Muhammad ibn al-Munkadir said to Shu'bah, what's your name? فقلت شعبة. قال حدثني أبو شعبة. And he said, Abu Shu'bah, he told me, and he gave me this narration, this hadith. And Suwayd ibn Muqarran al-Muzani. That Suwayd ibn Muqarran al-Muzni رضي الله عنه ورأى رجلا لطم غلامه. And then he said that he saw a man, he slapped his young servant in the face. فقال ما أما علمت أن سورة محرمة. He said, did you not know that the surah, what is the surah is referring to? The face. Because he slapped him in the face. So the surah here is referring to the face. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now you understand why I haven't been able to check your message. I saw the thing popping up. And he said, Surah Muharrama. It's not permissible to hit in the face. رَأَيْتُنِي وَأَنِّي سَابِعٌ سَبَعَةِ إِخْوَةٍ. He said, I was the 7th of 7 brothers. Alright, عَلَى أَهْدِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ مَا لَنَا إِلَّا خَادِمٌ. And we didn't have anybody to do anything for us except for this one servant. He said, فَلَطَمَهُ أَحَدُنَا, and one of us slapped the servant in the face. فَأَمَرَنَا النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ أَنْ نُعْتِقَهُ. And then the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to free him. Alright, final hadith. Like I said, all of these are all, you see, the same meaning. So that's why we're just reading them all together. Alright, 180. حدثنا موسى قال حدثنا أبو عوانة قال حدثنا فراس عن أبي صالح عن زاذان أبي عمر قال كنا عند ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما. So this goes back to the second hadith, right? Because the second hadith was reported by Ibn Umar. Alright, the other ones were reported by Suwayd ibn Muqarran al-Muzani. Alright, قال كنا عند ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما. So that we were with Ibn Umar, فَدَعَا بِغُلَامٍ لَهُ, and he called a young servant of his. كَانَ ضَرَبَهُ, and that he had hit him previously. فَكَشَفَ عَنْ ظَهْرِهِ, and he showed his back. فَقَالَ أَيُوجِعُكَ, and he said, is it, do you feel pain in this place where you were hit? قال لا. He said no. فأعتقه, and he freed him. ثم رفع عودا من الأرض, then he picked up a stick from the ground. فقال ما لي فيه من الأجر. He said, I have no reward for this. ما يزن هذا العود. I said, I have no. He picked up like a little small stick from the ground, and he said, I have no ajr for this, like that would even equate to the weight of the stick. Is that what it says in there? What do you got?
It says, which way is it much is this stick?
All right, so basically, he said, I don't have anything from the reward, from no ajr, except for what would equate to the weight of the stick, right? He said, فَقُلْتُ يَا أَبَا عَبْدُ الرَّحْمَنِ, and he said, oh Abu Abdul Rahman, لِمَا تَقُولُ هَذَا? And of course he's speaking to Abdullah ibn Umar. He said, why did you say that? Because he just freed him. Alright, so he would think like, okay, you have what? Huge reward, because you get a large reward for what? For freeing the servants, right? So he said, why would you say that? And he said, قال سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول. He said, I heard the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم say, أو قال, or he said, من ضرب مملوكه حدا لم يأتيه أو لطم وجهه فكفارته أن يعتقه. And this, like I said, it goes back to the second hadith that we read. He said, whoever hits his slave with a punishment for something that he did not do. Is that what it says here? What does it say in English?
The expiation of someone who beats a slave more than he deserves, slap his face, and they should show.
Yeah, so expiation, that's the kafara. That's a good word. Alright, so he said if he beats him for something like what? Haddan lam ya'ti, aw latama wajhu, or he slaps him in the face, and then the expiation for his actions is to free him. So the expiation, it means that what? It acts as a kafara for that sin. So he said, I don't have a reward for it because why? And he beat him, which was the sin, or he hit him in the face. In this case, it was on the back, right? But it was because it was something, either one, he did he hit him more than what he deserved, or he did it, it was something that he didn't do. So he said, that's the sin. The expiation for the sin is to do what? Free him. So it equals out. So basically, that's the cancellation of the sin, the expiation for the sin. So he's got that's what he's saying, that he doesn't get a reward for that purpose, that he sees it from being a kafara. All right, because he didn't free him, just to because hey, just go free. I want you to be free. No, he freed him because he hit him in the face or because he beat him. So that's a whole different issue. All right. A lot of reading tonight, and no questions either. Before we go into we're on Babul Walima, right? If you go two chapters down, all right? So you got Babul Walima is the 4th chapter of Kitab al-Nikah, right? Is that what you got? Go to chapter number 6. Yeah. So this is for al-Jakarati, because this was your question yesterday. So if you have Bulugh al-Maram and you go to chapter number 6, or you don't have Bulugh al-Maram, even in English? Huh? I have, but the problem is I have one at the house, but it was a gift. I can't give away the gift, so that's the problem. All right. So this is Bab al-Khulu', and this is the hadith about Imrat Thabit ibn Qais right here. Said Atat an-Nabiy sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'm not gonna go and explain this whole issue, but it's just because Jakarati was asking about this a lot yesterday, and not just yesterday, not just the last class, but the class and the class before this class, last class. But I just want to show so they can see where the hadith is. All right. And this is the hadith. فقالت يا رسول الله ثابت ابن قيس ما أعيب عليه في خلق ولا دين. She said, I have nothing bad to say about him, as far as his manners and as far as his deen. ولكني أكره الكفر في الإسلام. But she said, I dislike, and she used the word kufr, right? But she doesn't mean that she's disbelieving, but she means that she, again, what we talked about, she certain people, they just don't like each other, And how do they know that they're going to like each other until they, what? till they get married and they live together. You know, you might have a friend, somebody that you find like is a decent friend, right? Then you travel together and you have to stay together for like maybe 3 or 4 days as you're traveling, and you realize, dude, I hate this guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, even like, in small doses, he was cool. But then when you had to stay with him for like 24 hours a day, traveling. So, you're going through all the hardships together. You're going through the hunger. You're going through lack of sleep. You're going through, even when you are sleeping, you're not sleeping fully because maybe, you're driving a lot or flying or whatever it is, but all that comfort's gone, right? Just like the Prophet ﷺ said, safar qit'atun min al-adab. That that traveling is a form of, it's like a punishment. It's a form of punishment because it is. It's like all the discomfort that you have to go through. So you just have people, maybe you sit there and you talk to the girl, or the girl, you like her, she likes you. You're like, hey, cool, she's cool, I'm gonna marry her. But you haven't lived with her yet, And then maybe that's what happened in her situation is once she lived with him, she realized, I can't do this. I can't, I don't want, it gets on my nerves basically, right? So this was the issue. So she went to the Prophet ﷺ and she explained to him the situation, and he had given her a garden, like a hadiqa, right? And the Prophet ﷺ asked her, he said, are you going to give him back his hadiqa, the hadiqa that he gave you? She said, yeah. He said, khalas. And then he told her to divorce her. So that's the khula, and that's the only narration that you have as far as this issue. Like I said, we're going to go through this in depth when we get to that chapter. But I just wanted, because the question kept being asked in 2 different classes, so just to show al-Jakarati where and that's where you can find the hadith, inshallah. So now we're on Bab al-Walima. We're on the second hadith, which is in our books 1040. All right. I have the PDF and Bahasa Indonesia. Bahasa means what? Language. Come on, man, you got to learn. That's where you're going. I'm shipping you to Indonesia. You got to learn this stuff, man. All right, so 1040. We're going to take like maybe 2 or 3 of these hadiths, inshallah. What time's the adhan for Isha? I think it's like about 8:30, 8:40.
I got
8:39.
I think 37. 37.
I'll go with the lowest one, right? Huh? It's not about the time. It's about the shafaq, akhi. If that white light is going out of the sky, it doesn't matter what these clocks say. The important thing is that that white light of Maghrib is gone. If that white light of Maghrib is gone, it's time for Isha. It doesn't matter. Forget these schedules and all that. All right. Yes, language. I'm teaching them. Yes. That's the only thing I could teach you in Indonesia is Bahasa. And Pinchak Silat. That's it. All right. 1040. When Ibn Umar رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دعي أحدكم إلى الوليمة فليأتها متفق عليه ولمسلم إذا دعا أحدكم أخاه فليجيب عرسا كان أو نحوه. All right. Now this hadith is a hujjah aliyah. And what does that mean? This hadith is not going to make me happy today. Why? Because every time somebody tells me to go to a wedding, I find every single excuse to do what? Just not go. And now when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, you're going to understand that next time when somebody tells us to go to the wedding, what? We're going, inshallah. As long as there's no haram. But yes, let's put the hujjah against ourselves right now. Allahumma musta'an. So Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, he reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you got it on your phone, right?
Oh, no, I was looking at the chat.
Oh, okay. I thought you know, because I was saying you could download the Bulugh al-Maram in English.
How do you spell
Just BULUGH, and it should come up. Just type in Bulugh Maram and type in the PDF. You get in Arabic, right? You read Arabic?
Yeah.
I'll look at if there's any questions. I don't think so. There is actually. I'm just going to answer these questions until they get the book downloaded, inshallah. So this question was also from yesterday. If a woman has a son born out of wedlock, is that son considered a mahram for his mother's sisters? Yes, because he's his mother's child. So anybody connected to the mother, even the daughters, like he could be a mahram for his mother when he gets of age. You know, he could be a mahram for his mother because he's his mother's daughter, or his mother's son. Sorry. Huh?
دلوقتي بقول لك يعني ليش احسن مثلا يعزمك لازم انك تروح بس يعني ده شيء حرام بس يعني
Yeah. No, that's right, Abdul Malik. You still have to go because of the invite. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna go over once these guys get the book down. You find it. You got to go to Bab al-Walima, which is the chapter on, I don't know, the wedding party or something like that. What would it be in English? The marriage party, the marriage celebration, something. Go to Book of Marriage first, and then you're just gonna have to scroll down until you get to like the 4th chapter. Is the Bab of Marriage, the Kitab is the Book of Marriage, and then it will have different chapters. It's chapter number 4. Ustad, is it from fiqh and understanding to commit a lesser sin to avoid a bigger sin, like listening to music, with the hopes of eventually quitting it and making tawbah to avoid watching haram adult stuff or whatever? No, it's from fiqh and understanding of this deen to leave off the sins. You don't leave a sin for another sin, because just a tala'u bidinillahi ta'ala, like you're playing with this deen. You know, if you have a problem with one sin, you make isti'ana billah. You seek the assistance and the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to leave off that sin. And you keep, constantly seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance to leave off that sin. But you don't go and start committing another sin to try, because what's going to happen is, this is the way the shaitan is going to play with you, right? You're gonna say, oh, I'm going to listen to music, so I'll start watching foolishness on the internet. Guess what's going to happen in a little while? In a little while, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be watching foolishness while you're listening to music. Don't even, and this is how shaitan traps you. Thinking, it makes you think that, okay, I can leave this and do this. No, well, give it like 2-3 months and you'll be doing both of those sins. Now you got double. Now what are you going to do? And on top of that, because now you think that you're doing this like hela, this little snaky way of trying to get it. No, the only way that you can get around sin is by seeking the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the strength of Allah to leave off that sin. Leave the sin off. That's it. You don't leave it off for another sin. Vetra, I don't know why you keep asking this question about, is it safe to call Saudi Arabia a Salafi state? I mean, look, man, do they rule by the Quran and the Sunnah and their court systems and everything? Yes, khalas. It's Islamic. I don't know about saying it's a Salafi state. I've never heard the Salaf refer to a state as a Salafi state. But the people of the Sunnah, they have the biggest say-so as far as laws and everything that goes on in that country. Did Imam Shawkani write a risala about the prohibition of taqleed? He wrote a risala about ijtihad wa taqleed, but I haven't read it yet. I just got it today. I literally just got it sent to me from Jacksonville by Sajid today. So inshallah, it's going to be one of the things I'll be reading in the near future, inshallah. Y'all got the book? You found it? All right, so I can get back to these hadiths, inshallah. Did you get it? I guess we got to take a few more questions. Is it possible for one to get tested with a righteous spouse and they're tested because their spouse is good to them? Well, you're not being tested with a righteous spouse, you're being tested with yourself. Because some people, they just like, they're so accustomed, they have such bad thoughts with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they think that everything that they have is just going to turn out bad. And when it's good, they can't accept it. And they got to try to destroy it. You know, so you're being tested with yourself. You're not being tested with the righteous spouse. You know, you need to change your own behavior. Allah musta'an. Sins do not, look, man, if a person falls into sin, that does not take him out of being from Ahl Sunnah. It's a difference between a person falling into sin and a person what? Twisting up the adillah and changing it. Like I said, you get a person that trims his beard or even shaves his beard completely. But he says what? He says, look, I know that, shaving the beard is haram. And I know it's wajib for me to grow the beard. And he might give you the adillah, but he's just maftoon for whatever reason. The sin, that sin doesn't take him out of being from Ahl Sunnah. You know, because if we start taking people out of being from the Sunnah because of sins, then what are we like? Khawarij, right? Starting to act like the Khawarij now. So no, I mean, that sin doesn't take, it's a difference now when he starts twisting up the adillah. Oh no, this doesn't really mean that it's wajib. It means that it's mustahab. And you know, if he's constantly doing stuff like that, then that's a whole different story. But if the person is sinful, he's sinful, like he might trim his beard, or he might, fall into certain sins. The sins don't take him out of being from Ahl Sunnah. You know, if his aqidah is correct and what he calls to is correct, and even with the things that are against him, he still tells the people that this is the haqq, even though it's something that he doesn't do. And nah, man, you make dua for a person like that. You make dua that Allah guides. You find it. All right, let's go. Let's get back to the hadith now. All right, so when Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if a person, he said, either the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, either du'ya, if a person is invited, here, da'wah here is an invitation. All right, and we talked about what? Huh?
What was the hadith number?
It's going to be different with what you got. That's why I told you. It's the second hadith in the chapter on al-walima. All right. So he said, either du'ya. Du'ya here, it means if a person is invited. So here the da'wah is what? An invitation. And we talked about this before because the ulama, they differentiate between what? A general invitation and what? And a specific invitation. So if, like we talked about previously, if a person comes into the masjid and there's like 20 of us sitting around, and he said, hey, all of you are invited to my walima. Is it now wajib upon all 20 people to go? All right, so the ulama, a lot of the ulama would say no, but it is wajib upon some, for some of the people to go. But like all 20 people can't like not go because he invited the people. But it was a general invitation. But yeah, he said anybody wants to come to the walima, you're invited, right? Yeah. So this case, it's not wajib. But if he says everybody has to, everybody's invited to my walima, especially you. Now, what's the situation for you now? It's wajib on you, but it won't be wajib on all the 19 other people. But it will be on you because he specified you. So, and if he sends you an invitation, then yeah, anything that like specifies one person, then it becomes an obligation. Why am I grabbing my phone? I meant to grab the book, I grabbed the phone. Either du'ya ahadakum, if you've been invited ila al-walima, to the walima, falyatiha, and then go to it. So this is a command. So obviously this shows what? Al-wujub. Shows that this is an obligation. And this is muttafaqun alayh, this is Bukhari and Muslim. And the narration in Muslim, إِذَا دَعَا أَحَدُكُمْ أَخَاهُ فَلْيُجِيبْ. He said, if a person invites his brother, فَلْيُجِيبْ. Now this akhahu, does this mean his brother like his blood brother? No, this is al-akhuwa ad-diniyya. This is his brother in the deen. So this shows that what? If it's only for Muslims. If a kafir invites you, it's not an obligation, obviously, because you don't know. Let's just say that a kafir has a wedding and they, for some strange reason, they separate the men and the women and all this type of stuff. And you know that there's not going to be any of this haram stuff because this is like some type of religious kafir or some whatever. This is like a 1 in a 10 billion chance, right? But let's just entertain the idea. All right, no haram, everything, and there's not going to be any women, no drinking, no music, no khinzir, no none of this, right? And he invites you. Is it an obligation to go? No, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ahadakum akhahu." So the brotherhood is only for Islam. There's no brotherhood outside of Islam. So that's only for a Muslim. If a Muslim invites another Muslim, then it's an obligation for yujib. And that's again another command. Urusan, if it's a wedding, kana aw nahu, or anything of that nature. All right. The ulama have stated that what? It's only for, the obligation is only for what? For the walima. Everything else is mustahab. All right. It's only for the walima. So if they invite you to an aqiqah, or they just invite you to lunch, or they invite you to whatever, some other get together, then is it an obligation? No. The only obligation is the walima. The walima only. When Abi Hurairah, this is the next hadith. All right, we're going to read this one and the third one. This one and the next one, the one after. All right, when Abi Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم شر الطعام طعام الوليمة يمنعها من يأتيها ويدعى إليها من يأباها ومن لم يجيب الدعوة فقد عصى الله ورسوله. And this is in Sahih Muslim. And this is where I said, like, I didn't sit back and ponder this hadith the way that I should have pondered it before, especially recently, because of the brother Saddam, Allah yahfadhu wa Allah yuyassir umuruhu. He's the brother that had his son died, then his son got married, and then his daughter died. So I mean, he's just been going through all types of trials and tribulations. And like I mentioned this before, because this was the reason why we're absent for those days without the class. And still, I would request that people make dua for his family. But because he had a walima between those two burials, and of course, we started like, oh man, I'm not feeling well, and but then I didn't sit back and ponder this hadith. And now when I ponder this hadith, and like today when I was sitting down reading it, and then going through the different kalam of the ulama in regards to this hadith, you're going to see why this is scary now, and why we need to make tawbah from this. This is incorrect action. So Allahumma musta'an. So Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu, he reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Shar ta'am," the worst of food. And it's obviously it's not the food itself that's shar, but it's because of the situation that the food is served in. And this is what you'll understand now, inshallah. So he said the worst, how is it? How they translated? The worst kind of food. All right, so the worst food, ta'amul walima, is the food of the walima, yumna'uha man yatiha, that the person who comes to it is not given, is kept from it. And it's talking about the fuqara, the poor people. That the poor people, they come to the walima, but they're not allowed because this person only wants what? The rich people and the people of status to come to the walima, because certain people they look at the status. The wedding is a show of what? I'm this. Look at these people that show up. So it's a form of arrogance and bragging and boasting. All of these things that have nothing to do with Islam. So here, yumna'uha, it means that the people that are prevented from eating the food or rejected, go away, you're not allowed to come in here, are the poor people. So this is the worst of all food, because the poor people are not allowed to eat. وَيُدَعَى إِلَيْهَا مَنْ يَعْبَاهَا. And then he goes and he invites all these high status, rich people, and they're like, I'm not going. And they reject the invitation. All right, what did they say in the translation?
If anyone does not accept an invitation.
No, but specifically it's the people like with high status. Like the poor people are kept away from the food. They're rejected, like turned away. And then the rich people who he wanted to come and with the status and all this so he could brag, they rejected the invitation. They didn't even show up. He said, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِبَ الدَّعْوَةِ, and he said, whoever does not answer the invitation, and this is the scary part. All right. فَقَالْ أَصَى اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, then he has disobeyed Allah and his messenger, which shows that rejecting an invitation from a person when they invite you to a walima is from what? From the kaba'ir, from the major sins. Because of the wording that the Prophet ﷺ used, فَقَدْ عَصَى اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. That is a strong language. And that shows that rejecting that invitation without a reason is what? From the major sins. If there's a reason, like you really are sick and you can't go, you call, you get permission from you let the person know, look, I can't make it. And you let the person, so khalas, it's cool. Or whatever, something could happen. Maybe on the way to the walima, your car breaks down or something. You call and let them know. If there's going to be haram, and like for the whole time, and you're not going to go. Or let's say that the person is known for being a person who deals with he rips people off and steals people's money. And and you're not going to eat the food of a person who, takes his money in haram ways. You let the person know. You let them know that those types of reasons for rejecting that invitation, those are, plausible. All right. But you have to let them know. You can't just not show up. You understand? If there's going to be something haram that keeps you, but if there's not going to be anything haram, or like Abdul Malik mentioned, like normally what they'll do is they'll invite the people for the food, and then the haram stuff will start what? Later, right? So what do? You go eat the food. You give your greetings to the host and to the brother that got married, and then what do? Gotta go. I'm out. I'm getting out of here before the haram starts. Before the music comes on and before the bags of leaves start coming out, and the people start smoking and huffing and puffing and dancing and doing all this type of stuff. I'm out. All right. Well, this is a Yemeni wedding. I don't know what you do at the Syrian wedding. The music and the dancing and.
I think there is.
But you don't have the bags of leaves.
I don't think so.
That's the Yemeni thing, right? The Yemenis, they got to have their little bags of leaves when they're having a wedding. And they will import that stuff from Yemen just for the wedding. Along with time. All right. But you can't import it legally. So they got to import it. It's a drug. So it's considered a drug in America. So they still got to, but they find some way to get it in this country. All right. So that's that goes to show that what? Number one, answering the invitation of a walima, all right, is wajib. Rejecting the invitation is without an excuse, without any reason, is from the major sins. So yes, we need to change our behavior. Yes, I hate weddings, man. I'm serious with Allah. I ain't gonna lie. You have to be seriously. You have to catch me on the best day to get me to go to a wedding. I think I only went to. Let me see. Yeah, I didn't want to go to my own wedding. You know what I'm saying? My own wedding, they came and they picked me up, and I just had regular clothes on, and I just went. I didn't even want to go to my own wedding. I hated the whole all the people getting together and just for what, man? Just give me the wife and let me go, man. Y'all celebrate on your own, me and the wife celebrate on our own. Y'all celebrate. I don't gotta be there. But yeah, you gotta catch me on a good day to go to one of them, man. I went to one, I think, in Yemen. The whole time I was in Yemen. No, two weddings. And Damaj made a lot, a few. But outside of Damaj, nah. 2 weddings the whole time. 15 years in Yemen, I went to 2 of them. 2 of them. And the last one that I went to, wallahi, I went there only because the person I was real close to. And they had all the music and the chewing the cot and all that stuff was going on. And I was sitting outside reading a book. The father came up to me and said, look, just give us 1 minute. I said, okay. Next thing you know, the music stopped. The smoking stopped. Everything stopped. And they said, go give them salams. So I walked in to go give the brother salams, and I said, I apologize, but I gotta go. He said, okay, then no problem. Just, thanks for showing up. And then as soon as I left, what? The music started back up again. The bags came back out. The smoking started again. But they just stopped it just so I could go in and give the salams to the person and leave. Because those weddings there, it's horrible, horrible. But like the Magia. But here, I'm not, man. America, I haven't been to any wedding yet. No. SubhanAllah. We got to change that for the Muslims only. All right. Next hadith, and this will be the final hadith we take in this chapter. وعنه, so this goes back to Abi Hurairah رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دعي أحدكم فليجيب فإن كان صائما فليصلي وإن كان مفطرا فليطعم أخرجه مسلم أيضا وله من حديث جابر نحوه وقال فإن شاء طعم وإن شاء ترك. All right, this hadith, and this is the final hadith that we'll take here. This shows that going to the walima is an obligation. Eating is not. All right, but to go there and have your presence there, make dua for the person, whatever, and leave or whatever, but eating is not an obligation. And this is what we're going to understand from this hadith. So Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu, he reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if any one of you is invited to the walima, falyujib, then he should answer the invitation. This is an answer the invitation. That's how it should be said because it's a command. فَإِنْ كَانَ صَائِمًا. So if this is like, say for example, they have a walima on a Monday or a Thursday or a day that you're fasting, right? And so you're fasting and they invite you. So do you not go because you're fasting? No. He said, when kana sa'iman falyusalli. Falyusalli, what does it mean? Does he pray? No. Because he's not going to be eating the food. So falyusalli huna, it means falyada'u. Make dua for them. That you should make dua for them. What does it say in the English?
And if he's fasting, he should pray.
No, he shouldn't not pray, but he should supplicate for the people. Yeah, he should pray for the people, like make dua for the people. Yeah, because this is not salat. Like you go to his house and say, "Oh no, I'm fasting." Allahu Akbar, and start praying. It means that that he should make dua for them. وَإِنْ كَانَ مُفْطِرًا, and if he's not fasting, فَلْيَطْعَمْ, and he should eat. All right, and that's one narration. In the hadith of Jabir, which is also in Sahih Muslim, he said, فَإِنْ شَاءَ طَعَمْ, and if he wishes, if he wants to, then he can eat. When sha'a tarak, and if he wants to, what? He can leave the food. So this shows that eating the food of the walima is not an obligation. It's not an obligation because a lot of people, they go there and they feel like pressed to eat because whatever. No, the food there is it's not an obligation for you to eat. So if there's something like maybe like a person has high blood pressure or something and he can't eat a lot of the food at the walima because obviously most of the walima is what? It's rice with a lot of MSG and a lot of meat, right? So if a person has like high blood pressure or certain type of ailments like that, they won't be able to eat. Go out there and there'll be a walima and a janazah, right? If he tries to eat the food of the walima. So Allah musta'an. So it's not an obligation for the person to eat, but it is an obligation for him to show up, attend, let his presence be known. I told y'all the story before about Imam Shankiti rahimahullah, right? He said every time I told y'all, but y'all probably forgot. He said that they said that every time that he used to go to the walima, like he would go in and he would greet the host and greet the person who got married, make dua for him, and he'd be sitting down for a minute and then because he's real quiet, he's not gonna be talking. Next thing you know, what? He's gone. They're like, where'd he go? He's outside underneath the tree reading a book. He'd take a book with him and he'll leave while everybody's talking so they won't notice, and he'll just slip right out, go sit underneath the tree, and he'll read a book until they're all finished, and then he'll leave. That's what his son used to say. His son used to say you just find him under a tree reading a book. So yeah, I mean, you could do like that. Something like that, just at least your presence is felt. But he didn't want to be in there because, a lot of the walima, even when there's no haram, there's just a lot of talking. This is in Saudi, right? So they're giving coffee, they're giving tea, They eating dates, so you got all this sugar, you got all this coffee, all this caffeine going through you. So what do you think people are talking about? You think that they're talking about issues in the deen? No, they're just talking about politics. They're talking about current events. They're talking about stuff that's going on in the country. Man, he's gone. He grabs his book and he leaves. He's out there under the tree reading his book. Yeah, so I mean, he fulfilled his wajib. He fulfilled the obligation. So to sit with the people and do all that, it's not an obligation, but it is an obligation to show up. All right, we'll take a few questions and then we're gonna pray and get up out of here, inshallah. Well, what's Hamza? What's the situation?
I see the chat, but
Hi, is he in the chat? Cool, right? Hamza, we're gonna try to pray here, not early. I mean, all right. Who's gonna call the adhan? Go outside and call it. All right. Where do we stop at?
I'm just saying, what time?
MA says, well, I mean, it depends. I have not eaten, Akhi. The last meal that I had today, I cooked for the kids at like 6 o'clock this morning, 7 o'clock this morning. That was the last, and I had like a few pistachios. I said, I'm hungry, man. My stomach is not roaring. It's just like an earthquake right now. Because those books were coming, and I had to just stay up and make sure, yeah, because they're putting 4 boxes of books on my porch, man. Oh, it's gone in my neighborhood, boy. Yeah, it's just like gone, man. They see that. I wake up, it's like, your package has been delivered. No, it hasn't. It's like it's been delivered to somebody else's house, and then they're gonna realize it's all Arabic books, and they'll probably return them too, man. Allahu musta'an. How do you decline? I'm trying to read this question. How do you decline relatives who invite you to a haram wedding party? You explain it to them. You just explain to them the situation. If they're, like I said, most of the times, I don't know how, like the East, more, I guess you could say the Eastern Asians, I don't know how they do the walimas, but the Arabs, most Arab countries, they eat food first. They get the food, there's a lot of meat, and then later on, all the chaos starts, and that goes all into the night. So normally you can always go there for the lunch and get out unscathed. There's not going to be, normally, like I said, most Arab countries, there's not going to be mixing between the men and the women. There's not going to be any of this type of stuff. So none of those types of things apply. Now, I can't say the same thing about all, because I have seen like when I was young, like 16 years old, we had to set up we went to when they were setting up for like a Palestinian wedding. Oh, no. You don't go to one of them. You stay home. You say, I'm sorry. It's against my religion to go to your wedding, because they're men and women dancing together. They're getting funky. You don't want to go to no. But Yemen, Saudi, Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, like the Khalij type countries, you're not going to have that mixing. You're not going to all that. Normally they rent out a hall for the men. The women, either they stay at home and party at home, or they have a hall separate for the women. They separate them. In Yemen, that's what they do. Like the men have a hall, the women have a hall. Most of the women, the men though, they just put a tent out in the street, and they get a guy, a flute player and a drummer, and then they just like keep the neighborhood awake all weekend. Kind of like the Mexicans when their daughter turns 15. It's like that, but it'll go on for like 3 days. 3 days in that tent. They'll just be out in that tent all night long. So. But you just go for the lunch. That's it. Nobody's gonna expect you, if you're a religious person, to stay for all the other stuff. They'd be surprised. If you stay for all that other stuff, they'd be like, hey, the Mathawa is cool. They'll be like, oh, the religious man, he's a cool religious man, right? But nobody's gonna expect you to stay for that stuff. He said, can we please go over the book that goes over the 80 mistakes by Abu Hanifa? Ya akhi, that book is a Musannaf li Ibn Abi Shayba. If we went over that book, it would take us 20 years to finish. You can go to the book and go over those issues in the Musannaf. But I mean, to actually go through that whole entire book, Allah ya'in. Name, this is the name of the person, is name. I heard the slave women were forbidden from wearing hijab. No, they were forbidden from covering their faces. Because it was an obligation for the believing women to cover their faces so that the people know that, they can differentiate between the slave girls and the believing women. So that's when the issue about the jilbab was sent down for that purpose. And by the way, the flashing of the light is because of my hands moving. So somebody, I think Muhammad Fatima was saying, like in the last class, what's going on with the lights? It's not the lights, it's the camera. So I move my hand in front of the camera and it causes it to flash. What to do if non-Muslim women look at me and check me out when I'm exercising outside on the trail? It's not practical to stay in one's home. I mean, you're not looking at them, so don't ignore them. Ignore them. But the thing is I guess if you are noticing that they are looking at you, then I guess you're not ignoring them, are you? So, is accepting invitations mandatory in other circumstances as well? No. No. It's only for the walima, according to the strongest opinion. But other scholars might say yes. I've heard other scholars say that any invitation is an obligation. But here it's shown for the walima. Is it permissible to accept the invitation? You go eat and be out at the walima so you don't break ties. I don't know. I mean, just go there, give the people salams and leave. Just let them know. Let them know the situation. Like, look, man, I want to come there. Like I said, with the Arabs, it's a lot like the Khaliji Arabs. I'm not saying like all the Arabs, because like Egypt, Morocco, their situation's a lot different, and also Lebanon, Palestine, they're a lot different. Their issues are a lot different. But the Khaliji Arabs, and even Iraq, I think, is a lot different. How is Iraq? Huh?
I don't know.
You ever live over there? You grew up your whole life here? Oh, so you never been over Syria? You're from Syria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the weddings there, like, what are they like?
I mean, of course, like in terms of remixing, it's kind of depends on like the families. But I'd say it's like 50-50, like on separate families.
But most of that time, that's the nighttime party time. But the lunch is normally what? They don't free mix with the lunch, or no?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, the women eat together, the men eat together. Yeah, so if that's the situation, go eat. Give them salams and tell them, look, I got to go before things get, crazy. That's it, just to keep the ties with everybody. Instead, if a brother wants to marry a sister from Ahlul Kitab, is the nikah obligatory? And does the marriage contract have to be Islamic in the court of the? No, it doesn't have to. It can be an Islamic marriage, but her wali has to be from her religion, and she cannot have been a fornicator. If she's been fornicating and she hasn't made tawbah from fornication, the marriage is not valid. It's not permissible for you to marry her. So you can only marry from the muhsinat, and the muhsinat are the women that protect their chastity. If she's fornicating woman, then it's not permissible, and if you marry her, the marriage is not valid, and you'll be fornicating too. So, and if you do actually find that one Christian girl or Jewish girl or whatever, and she's like that one girl who still kept her chastity, and she's like 18, 19, 20 years old, and she's never committed fornication, that miracle girl, and you find her, and her wali has to be from her religion. So if she's a Christian, her father's a Buddhist, her father cannot be the wali. She's a Christian, her brother's a Christian, then her father's a Buddhist, and I don't know, her other brother's like what? Hare Krishna or something, I don't know, like our friend that came here that day. That famous YouTuber dude.
Oh, Kojima.
Yeah, it's a Hare Krishna, right? But yeah, so for that, whatchamacallit, she has to have the wali, has to be from her religion. Has to be from her religion. So these like little fake little, Walmart type weddings that the people be, keep doing nowadays, it's not valid. The Walmart wedding, he goes, gets a girl that he met out, and he's been chit-chatting with her on the phone and telling her how he can't do everything with her because he's Muslim. And he's like, the only way that we can do anything together is we got to get married. So he gets the brother to act as the wali, and they get married. And then, this type of garbage is not valid. And you're falling right into the thing that you were running away from. You're fornicating. But you're not considered a fornicator if he actually thinks that the marriage is valid. But if he knows what he's doing, and he knows that it's wrong, and he's been taught that it's wrong, then he's fornicating. So Allahumma musta'an. Muhammad Fatima said, are you coming to mine? Absolutely. I guess it'd be an obligation if I get invited. Imam, for us in why did I read that? For us in the West, the wedding is the intention, proposal, and the ask and acceptance. But our other brothers see the feast, a day, the party, and the wedding with all the haram. So we're stuck. I mean, you just got to look at the situation. Like I said, most of like all these, anything if it's going to be haram from beginning to end. You just ask the permission, like, sorry, I can't go, and let them know. Because they should understand. If you're a religious person and you're known for being a religious person, they'll understand. But yeah, so Abdul Malik raises a valid point too. Is that you want to make sure, because again, we have these like bathroom marriages and these Walmart marriages, these made in China marriages, where it's like I said, he goes and gets some girl that he's either been fornicating with or, whatever. And he's like, well, I'm tired of fornicating, so let's make this marriage valid. Yeah, it's not a valid marriage. That's fornication. You understand? You can't fornicate with a girl and then turn around and talk about, oh, let's get married now to make this legitimate. You can't make it legitimate until you make Tawbah. You got to separate from the girl, you make Tawbah, and you can't marry the girl that you've been fornicating with. It's not permissible. The marriage is not valid. It doesn't matter how many witnesses you have. If you made Tawbah, she didn't make Tawbah, marriage is still not valid. Period. She's still considered a fornicator until she makes Tawbah. You're still considered a fornicator till you make Tawbah, and it's not permissible. No marriage of a fornicator is valid. So khalas, if you know that it's that type of marriage and he invites you to that type of marriage, then you tell him absolutely not. I'm not coming. This marriage is not, and if you're a person of deen, then you have to let them know, like, this marriage is not valid, and I'm not have nothing to do with this. In that case, no, it's not obligation upon you, because the whole thing is disobedience from the get-go. It's disobedience from the get-go. If you know that the person got married with a marriage that's not valid, then no, you don't have to go to the walima, because it's ta'awun ala ithmi wal udwan. It's what supporting each other in sin and evil, transgression, oppression. It's giving a hadiyah specifically for wedding, a sunnah. All that goes back to giving a gift. It goes back to the customs of the people. If that's the customs of the people, then that's what you do. Because obviously, if the people give gifts, and just do what the people do. But that's from the customs of the people. All right. This is the second time somebody asked me about this guy, Okasha. I do not know who he is. Do you got to meet the groom? You go there and you make dua for him. You go make dua for him. The dua that we studied this previously. I don't know. Abdul Karim is saying, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, what print of books brings the whole chain, or how does this work? I don't understand the question. Yeah, I don't understand the question. Vetro is laughing about the Hare Krishna. He was a Hare Krishna. Some famous YouTuber dude came here talking about he's a Muslim with all this like Indian paint on his face. You know, what was his name again?
Kev Jumba.
Kev Jumba. Kev Jumba. Came here for Jumu'ah talking about he's a Muslim. Then he said, no, I'm not. I'm every religion. And I'm like, oh my God, man. So if someone say they're upon Quran and Sunnah but call themselves Bilalian, I don't even know what the Bilalian thing is. Abdul Malik's gonna have to explain what the Bilalian thing is. I've heard the name before, but I don't know what their beliefs are. I don't know. I don't know. If the person, I mean, look, I'm not saying anything about this Bilalian thing because I don't know what they are. But yeah, if the person's like, let's just say that the person is a Murtad and she's a Muslimah, yeah, the marriage is invalid because it's not permissible for a Muslim woman to marry other than a Muslim man. And if he's left Islam, like he doesn't pray, or he's or maybe he's a Rafidi, he insults the Sahaba, and he claims that what the Rafida claim about Aisha and about the Quran, then in that case it's not permissible and the marriage is not valid.
الفيديو اللي انت كان شفته من زمان قبل الحوثي اللي كانت تأثر القرآن وكنت يعني فاكر يعني يمكن من الرافضة اللي قلت القرآن هذا مش حقيقي مش.
Oh no, the Houthis now, they just invited the Hindus to Yemen. They're out there hanging out with Hindus now, man. Allah Mustaan. That's their new buddies now.
يمكن كان يدرس القرآن بس يعني لأنهم يؤمنون يعني القرآن هذا مش أصلي يعني كذبي.
Yeah, I mean, if a person does things like that, that takes him out of the deen. Al-Ihana bil-Mushaf, khasatan bil-Qasd, he's a kafir, khalas. And then it's not permissible for her to marry him. Al-Houthi, yeah, la yajuz. Still, the girl's father is telling her that covering up and staying in the house is useless. Just should go out and get a successful job in studying. Said if you want to stay at the house, then go become a scholar. Go become a scholar. Go study your religion. If the father says that it's useless, just remind your father. Say, we'll see what's useless on the day when we stand before our Lord to answer for everything that we've done in this life. And then we're going to see what was useless and what wasn't useless. And trust me, he won't be saying that same thing on that day. He will not be saying that on that day. He'll regret ever saying that in this life. You're doing what you're doing to please Allah, not to please the people. So work on pleasing Allah because that's who you have to answer to. You don't have to answer to these people. When you're doing the obedience to Allah, you don't have to answer to nobody. You're doing things in obedience to Allah. You're doing obedience to the creator of all these people. Khalas, you don't have nothing for these people. Nothing. Not for your mother, not for you don't leave off the obedience to Allah for anybody. For nobody. You're nobody. So as far as that's concerned, then no. You continue to cover up, and then you stay in the house. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Sit at home and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly that Allah bless you with a righteous husband, and get out the house. Get out the house and go be where you can practice your religion comfortably without all these restrictions, without the people saying what they're saying. Yeah, Abdul Malik, inshallah, you explain that to me later, inshallah, this whole Bilali thing. Like I said, I don't know. Is washing hands 3 times and waking up and cleaning those 3 times a part of wudu or outside? No, washing the hands 3 times when you wake up is regardless of if you're going to make wudu or not. Before you touch anything, before you stick your hand in any vessel, you wash your hands 3 times. The hadith of Abu Hurairah. So yeah, that's an obligation. All right. Ameen. I'm trying to study the religion, but did not tell him. He said that I don't need to bring Allah up and everything. I always like to have, to answer for everything on Day of Judgment, and so I have to, huh? I don't understand what trying to study the religion, but did not tell him. He said that I don't need to bring up Allah and everything. I was like, oh, I have to answer for everything on the Day of Judgment, and so I have to care. I think that's what maybe a cutoff. And yeah, like I said, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to justify what you're doing. You remain in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khalas, that's all that matters. We got to roll up out of here. Sorry, people. اللهم استعان وإلهنا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. What's the best day to do? We're going to have to answer that in the next one, inshallah.